you want to see the way a 99th percentile scorer's brain works during the verbal reasoning subtest of the UCAT, this is the video for you. Hi guys, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Emil and I recently graduated from Scotch College in 2020 with a 99.8 ATAR and a 99th percentile UCAT. This year, I'm studying my first year of medicine at Monash University. In this video, I'm going to be doing a full verbal reasoning UCAT subtest on camera live. And I hope to be saying the type of things that I'm thinking and sort of vocalizing the things that I'm thinking as I'm doing the questions. Just beware, as a disclaimer at the start of this video, that because verbal reasoning subtests and subtests in the UCAT in general are quite time pressured, sometimes I might say things that don't make much sense, or I might just be mumbling, but I do apologize, and I hope you can still get something out of the thought processes that make sense and how I'm answering questions and what questions I'm skipping. So without further ado, I'm going to pull up a verbal reasoning subtest mock on my computer and I'll share my screen for you guys to see. So as you can see, I've pulled up some practice tests from the UCAT consortium here. The reason I'm having to use a full practice test instead of just doing a timed verbal reasoning subtest mock is because the UCAT official website doesn't actually have a verbal reasoning subtest mock that's timed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this practice test A, and I'm going to do that because I wanted to show you guys the clock in the top right hand corner, as well as sort of how I use that clock to time my sets, and then also so that I can have that experience of a timed conditions. So on the test day, my verbal reasoning was actually my worst subtest, but I still scored in the 90th percentile for that. But I hope that still you'll be able to get something out of this video just by sort of watching the way I think when I'm doing questions, which questions I'm skipping, and things like that, which might give you a better idea and give you some, hopefully, confidence for you yourself doing some verbal reasoning questions. So without further ado, I'm going to open this practice test and do it on my computer. And just in the first sort of minute that I have, I'd like to talk about the sort of things I'm aiming for in this test. So usually I like to aim for about 36 out of 44 on verbal reasoning. I do find it the hardest subtest, which is why I probably have a lower expectation for what I'm aiming for. But still, getting 36 on test A would be a very, very good score to get. So just in this minute you have before the subtest begins, I also like to sort of compose myself, calm down, take a few deep breaths in the last 20 seconds or so, just to make sure that I'm feeling good going into the subtest. So I'm going to keep an eye on this clock on the top right hand corner for 90 minutes. Restorative justice works because it deters others from committing offences in the future, reduces the cost of the criminal justice system, makes the offender aware of the actions, exposes the offender as a wrongdoer to the rest of the role. Probably not D straight away, just from the way it's phrased. I'll be scanning for restorative justice and how it works. So it breaks down rigid stereotypes and helps others to understand. So yeah, aware of its actions. In discussing law and order issues, stereotypes are so definitely not A and B helpful. So it breaks down rigid stereotypes. Youngsters seeing the elderly as hostile and unsympathetic, violent and threatening. So unhelpful because they distract us from thinking of individuals. The Ministry of Justice research supports the use of restorative justice. So I'm just scanning for Ministry of Justice, not in the first paragraph. Ministry of Justice research into restorative justice for serious offences such as violent crime and burglary showed that the approach reoffending by 27%. For every $1 spent, €9. Compared to community punishments or prison services alone, So that suggests that it should be used in, because it is cost effective. Okay, that's right. So according to the writer, restorative justice is best used, this would be this part here, alongside other punishments. This one has 4 paragraphs, I'm going to skip them. I'm just going to flag and skip. This one is also a bit chunky, so I'm going to skip. Hearth tax was sometimes called chimney tax. Tax was based on hearths and fireplaces rather than chimneys. Okay, I'm going to scan for hearths and fireplaces. Propose a tax on hearths and fireplaces. Hearths were taxed because there could obviously be more hearths and chimneys. Okay, so several hearths were taxed. That one, move quickly. Both in the 1662 and 1801. First sentence, 1801. Family members, ages, occupations, addresses. So, and then earlier records such as those in the information about the population and where they lived. So it's not going to be property values, it's not going to be births and marriages. It would be names and addresses because people go to your house. Which of these collectors can be judged to have been the most effective? So I'm going to search for collectors. It's not in the first or second paragraph. Collected by sheriffs, then by receivers, then by farmers, and then by commissioners who in record. Yep, so it's commissioners. According to the passage, the records relating to the 1662 Hearth Act are now primarily of interest to people researching I suppose it's a form of taxation, so I'll just go A. I don't want to spend too much time wasted on that. On 17 minutes as well, which is good. I'm on track. Nitrate levels in rivers are usually highest in the summer. I'm going to search for summer. Or seasons, like winter, August. Shows strong seasonal trends, being low in summer, so this is false. Some of the water available for possible extraction by underground in areas of permeable rock. Okay. I did see permeable rock somewhere, so I think it's here. Yeah, underlying. So most of the rainfall that lands, groundwater, permeable rock. I'm gonna say true because we haven't really seen much about water companies, but I'm gonna say true. Farmers are limited in the number of animals they can keep on their farm. That farmers, they must calculate exactly how much nitrogen is in the manure. They must calculate exactly how much nitrogen is in the manure produced by all their different types of livestock, and the amount they apply to the land where and when is strictly controlled. So, I'm saying it's not false. I'm not sure whether it's true or can't tell. I'm also keeping an eye on the time. Going to say true because just by inferring that you must calculate nitrogen. Yeah, that's true. If farmers use granular inorganic nitrate fertilizer instead of manure, there's no risk of nitrates being leached in the soil. I saw fertilizer before and manure. So to counteract this, the department, blah, 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 how they apply manure and inorganic fertilizers to their land. So this would be false because there's stuff about it. Okay. This is 2 fat paragraphs, so I'm gonna skip that. So based on the information, antibiotics are effective against bacteria. Only the sensitive bugs get wiped and the tougher bacteria become resistant, so some bacteria. According to the passage, antibiotics should never be stored at home and reused. Okay. So it wasn't in these first 3 paragraphs. You should never reuse antibiotics because you won't have a sufficient dose for them to work. They may not work on your infection a second time, so they may become contaminated in your so there may not be enough to be effective. Based on the information in the passage, doctors often prescribe antibiotics because, I saw this in the second paragraph, just in case the doctor wants to play safe. Nothing about C or D, not A, so it must be B. According to the passage, taking antibiotics as directed by a doctor is important because this was what we read before. But other infections need longer courses. You should never reuse. I think we also read about, sensitive bugs get wiped out and tougher bacteria become resistant. So it's not A, there's nothing about that. Could be C, but it's about resistance, not more infectious. I think it would be B. Okay. Construct domes on churches is what I'm scanning for. So it was still incomplete in the early 15th century because builders had not yet developed the necessary to construct a dome of such massive size. So this says it's not true. Sorry, it's not false. It could be true, or can't tell, but they did not have the necessary to construct a dome of such massive size, so it would be can't tell. Bruce Shelley was the first person to predict his inventions with a patent. I'm going to search for patent. Not here. I scanned these 2 paragraphs. Actually. He issued one of the first modern patents. So I can't tell if it was the first, so I'm going to go can't tell. It only took 50 years to complete Florence's cathedral. Pretty sure I saw, his most significant achievement was to complete Florence's cathedral. Started in 1296. Incomplete in the early 5th, this is false. Some of Bruce Shelley's discoveries and inventions show that he was a very gifted mathematician. He studied literature and mathematics. I'm hitting 11 minutes, so I don't want to waste too much time. I'm just going to go next. Based on the information in the passage, the landscape parkland was probably designed between the years. Okay, landscape parkland is what I'm looking for. Rolling landscape parkland, okay. Created almost 50 years earlier. So 50 years earlier to 1792, that's just 1740 to 1760. Statements can be best supported using the information. Okay. High wall, heavily wooded valley, carefully designed woodland path. Okay. Approach through undulating woodland. D could be right. The views are awe-inspiring. On one side, the wall bordering the road is cleverly hidden from sight, so that's kind of C. I don't think it's A because it's just bordering the road. This doesn't mean it's on all sides. Visually borrowed. Since the mansion's set high on this hill, so it's definitely not B. Don't think it's A, it's either C or D. Strategically, I think it's C just because of those words. It can be concluded from the passage that the author didn't see much about the author's opinion here, so I'm just going to see the last paragraph. Peacefield is a rapidly decaying ruin, so what future? For how much longer can we wander freely to explore and enjoy? And be refreshed. I think that would be this. Yeah, it would be A. Visually borrowed. I saw this before. Using passion, it's like looking at the answer options. Okay. I saw it here. The views are awe-inspiring. On one side, the wall bordering the road is cleverly hidden from sight so that the wonderful landscape beyond the park's perimeter is visually borrowed. Okay, that would be B. Fields which are not part of the essay are meant to appear as though as they are. Okay. Horatio is famous for defending Rome against foreign invaders. Okay, gonna search for Horatio. Many stories about here. Horatio, straight away, defended a narrow bridge near Rome against invading foreign. Okay, yes. Local was and women in Roman times. The soldier was a good idea. Gonna search for was and women. Okay. Walls here. Eastern end of the Roman wall. Some people local to Walton thought that they could be descended from, so not in Roman times, but no evidence of Mediterranean bloodlines, so this would be false. The Roman wall became finally deserted when the soldiers were reassigned to further conquest. Okay, I'm gonna search for deserted. Sadly, the Roman wall became deserted when the Romans retreated as their empire collapsed. So they were not reassigned to further conquest, so it would be false. Most 7 minutes left, so I've got to be careful. Most people living in the north of England are descended from Scandinavian invaders. I saw this in the last bit. All local people show mainly Anglo-Saxon traits with very small, so this is false, because it's not most. The Scottish country dance cannot be properly danced by a group of 20 people. I'm looking for the numbers, like groups. Groups of 3 facing 3, so that'll be 6. Group of 3 remain together throughout the whole dance. Okay, so yeah, since it's 6, this will be true because 6 does not go into 20. I need to be quick. Different partners at the end of the dance. No, I'm gonna look through this. No, you stay with the same partner. Scottish country dance does not only take place in Scotland. I think I saw something about this in the first paragraph. Exported all around the world. Yes, this is true. Equal number of male and female dancers. Groups of 3 facing 3, so there are 6 man between 2 ladies, or lady between 2 men. So this is false. Does not require. Could be can't tell because it doesn't tell us which one. Okay, there are 12. I'm very behind, but I'm gonna do this. So Mercury has not been extensively studied because because its proximity to the sun, it's too close to the sun. It took about 7 years to get into orbit around Mercury because I'm searching for messenger. Don't think it's B, don't think it's C, it's D. I'm gonna take a guess at D. Main reason messenger had to use the gravitational pull of other planets. I'm looking for gravitational pull. The probe gains energy from the gravitational field to move away from the sun. For Mercury, the problem is to slow the probe enough to enter orbit without the undue exposure. Yes, so same fuel. Which of the following is always true? Surface of Mercury is hot. I saw this here, daytime temperature. So that's not always true. Shows the same face as the sun. I haven't seen anything about that. Actually, about this temperature stuff, the mean temperature taken over the surface of Mercury would melt ice. So that's true. Best supported. So now I'm back on time actually. I was fairly quick with that. Show the passage. Children in the UK get a head start. No evidence that starting school early is beneficial. I'm scanning for all of those different things. So, a head start is different from starting early, I think. Cannot cope, definitely not true. It is agreed that it's beneficial time. However, the little research that has been carried out finds no advantage for children starting out. Okay. Not supported by the information in the passage. I think it's not A, and I have to move a bit quicker. I'll say that because it's just the most common age, this last sentence. Which of the following statements is true? There are 6 countries in Europe with starting age 5. I saw this here. That's not true. In most companies, no, that's not true. Some of them. The most common starting age is same as the rest of the world. Yeah, that's true, because out of a total of 45, 23, yeah. What can be inferred about the attitude of people in most European countries? I'm just going to take a guess at one of these. Not probably it. I'm just going to go see. Farmers in fair trade better from the foundation because okay. I'm going to say there's a minimum price, so yeah, there's hard times. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go A with this. I think it's D. And in a year when there is increased coffee bean production, it is likely that. So there was stuff about when it's oversupplied, there's a minimum price when that oversupplied. So when there's increased coffee production, the world price would go down. They'd lose out, I think. Yeah, because there's a minimum price. Yeah. So I'm just gonna relax now. There's not much I can do in this last 10 seconds. So since this is a full practice test, I actually have to skip through all of these sections, but I'll just try and do that as quickly as I can. Honestly thought that was pretty good. I did have to rush a little bit at the end, which was a bit unfortunate, but I think I did pretty well. So usually I aim for about 36 on verbal reasoning subtests, so we'll see how this goes. This will end the exam And we got exactly 36 right, which is quite good. If you'd like to see the ones that I got wrong, we can have a look at those quickly. This one, I won't bother sort of doing these myself because I'll go back to the review screen. I'll go review incorrect. Yeah, I won't bother going through these. Maybe you can have a look at them yourself to see what went wrong. But I think a lot of these I was either rushing or made a mistake in how I was thinking. So you can pause on any of those if you'd like to go through it a bit better. But honestly, quite happy with how I did. I'll see you guys in the conclusion. So that wraps up the verbal reasoning test I did live. I was actually a bit nervous going into this because I haven't done a verbal reasoning test in quite a while, and I do know that verbal reasoning is one of the subtests that I found the most difficult on the UCAT. Hopefully from watching this video, you might understand something a bit better about how people answer questions to score in the high percentiles, how to score in the 90th percentile and above, and hopefully what I was saying was making a bit of sense to you, and you can sort of see that there isn't a secret recipe that people who are scoring really highly are using. They're just using the same recipe that you are, the same strategies that you are. They're keyword searching, they're scanning the stimulus, and that's the sort of stuff that can really help you to hopefully gain some confidence. And at the end of the day, I hope this video helps you get a better idea of what works for you in verbal reasoning, and it's and I also hope that it sort of demystifies the test for you, and you can see that it isn't too bad to score really highly on the verbal reasoning subtest. Thank you guys for watching. If you learned anything from this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.